We're joined right now by the Conservative Party of Canada's Shadow Minister for Agriculture and Agri-Food. It is the the MP coming out of Foothills is Mr. John Barlow. John, how are we doing?
I'm great, Shaun. Thanks very much for having me, and so close, and yet so far.
I apologize for that
No,
mix-up,
that's
but
all right.
I guess as you go back to you're back in Ottawa, obviously, and just speak to that. You know, obviously a disappointing result in the election. You won your riding, like no doubt, as expected, but not the result the party was looking for. How does the group come back to Ottawa, being so close, within your grasp of forming the next government, and it's not meant to be?
Yeah, there's no question it was difficult. I think you would anyone would take a loss like that easily, to be so close and put so much work into it, and to fall short. But, coming back here to Ottawa, I think everybody was eager to get back. It's been, 5 months since Parliament has been sitting. And, now to have a chance over the last few days or a couple of weeks to meet the new colleagues that we have in the Conservative team, this is an incredible group of individuals who won seats in parts of the country that we have never won seats before. We are truly a national party. And to attract this quality of people has just been energizing. And certainly now I think, we will be a very strong opposition, and we've got to hold this government accountable. And we're certainly ready to go back to work, and to see now that Pierre will be back in Parliament this fall. I think that's also a nice reassurance that we're on the right track.
A lot of rural and ag background in caucus, a lot of options.
Yeah.
For Shadow Minister of Agriculture, you're back in this spot. Is it what you wanted?
Yeah, absolutely. The leader has honored me to put me back in this position. Asked me if this is what I wanted to continue to do, and it was the fastest answer I've probably ever given. And other than when my wife was agreeing to marry me, was probably the other best answer I've ever heard. But
before you change your mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, are you sure? But no, this is exactly what I want to carry on doing. There's some unfinished business for sure, but I love this industry. I love working with the people in this industry. It's always something different, as you know, Shaun. You're always learning. There's never a same day, and that's what I enjoy about it the most. And certainly, as you mentioned, the quality of people that we have in our caucus. There's so many great people that I can lead on for their expertise and their feedback to make sure we're putting our best foot forward when it comes to policies or initiatives that are going to be there to help Canadian farmers and agri-food processors and producers across Canada.
Now, just like you're looking across a different prime minister than the previous one, this is a different ag minister, it appears, than Lawrence MacAulay was as well. Of course, Cody Bloys was the ag minister for that week before the election.
Right.
In your discussions with Minister MacDonald, I guess, what's your messaging to him?
Yeah, I think I'll have a good working relationship with the minister. We've had an opportunity to speak a couple of times already, and we'll have a more formal meeting before we rise this spring. Certainly the proof will be in the pudding, but we'll see what his priorities are and his focus. But he thus far has been open to listening to what are some of the things that we want to prioritize. But I'm hopeful that he is much different than Minister MacAulay. I'm not completely convinced of that yet. He is another member of Parliament from Prince Edward Island, and when Prince Edward Island was going through its potato crisis, the minister, MP MacDonald at that time, didn't fight for his constituents and didn't fight for the potato farmers of PEI. So I'm a little hesitant that if he didn't stand up for his own farmers, his own constituents, is he going to stand up for farmers across Canada? And that's something that we want to see.
You've mentioned that from an ag file perspective, there's some unfinished business. What are the two or three things that come top of mind when it comes to the unfinished business that you want to push when it comes to being the shadow minister?
Yeah, I think overall, it comes down to the cost of doing business and the regulatory red tape and tax regime that the farmers are dealing with. Fertilizer tariffs, tariffs in China on canola, beef, and seafood. It was good to see the Prime Minister say that those are a priority, but we want to see some action taken on those files. Harmonization of regulations, certainly the let's say the acrimonious relationship between agriculture and the CFIA and PMRA. I want to see that relationship improved and addressed. And if that's a change in mandate for those agencies or a shift of where those agencies are placed within cabinet. And again, a lot of that comes down to Minister MacDonald. And is he going to be that influential voice at the cabinet table? With all due respect to Minister Macaulay, who had a long career here, I think the one thing that agriculture has been really missing for the last decade is having that person at the cabinet table who has some gravitas, some influence. And I'm certainly hopeful that the new agriculture minister will play that role or take on that role for agriculture to ensure that when we do bring issues to him, that he has the authority or the clout at the cabinet table to make sure that the interests of Canadian agriculture is heard at that table.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I've said before, it's which way the direction the communication flows, right? So are you, as a Secretary of Ag in the U.S. or Minister of Agriculture in Canada, are you a liaison from government to farmers, or are you a liaison from farmers to the government? Those are two very distinct ways of operating. What about the focus on trade? And I was talking to a few stakeholders last week. Their impression is that trade is much more important in this Carney government than we saw prior with Trudeau.
Yeah, I think you're certainly seeing the language from this government is more adult, more focused on economics and productivity and growing our economy, and less on social issues, let's say. Yeah. So I'm hopeful that's the case. A very new, I don't want to say a rookie MP, but a rookie minister in the trade file, and Minister Sadu, which I've also had an opportunity to have a short conversation with him. To put someone without cabinet experience in that very critical role at this time with everything going on with the United States and China, I'm hopeful he's up to the task. But he hopefully the focus of the Prime Minister to be prioritizing trade and economic growth will play out on where their priorities lie within the government.
Yeah, there's been, I guess, lots of wonder. You mentioned, kind of the direction relationship between CFIA and PMRA. I also have wondered about potential cost cutting in AFC, the department. When it comes to that in the financial side of AFC, where would you like to see the government go on some decisions? Is it a case of overall audit, cost benefit, or is there some simpler, lower hanging fruit that could just be tackled immediately?
No, I think it has to pick a lane, and Ag Canada needs to decide what it wants to be and what it wants to accomplish. And I think one of the things that is really missing, and we would have focused on had we won that election, is an audit of Ag Canada and ensuring that there's some metrics in place within its mandate to measure its success, whether that's research, whether that's grants, its relationship with FCC, Farm Credit Canada. It just seems that there's a lack of focus within the department, and I would like us to see for that to change and really have some metrics around some reporting and some measurement of success on how dollars are being spent and are they being leveraged in a proper way where we're seeing results.
Any insight to what some of the big topics will be at the Fed Prov meeting coming up in July?
I'm guessing that BRMs will likely be a top of mind. That seems to be always a topic. But I'm hopeful that trade our trade relationship with our partners and supply chain infrastructure will be key. If you're going to talk about growing our economy, a big part of that is being able to get our products and our commodities to market and having markets available worldwide. So I'm hoping that is a hot topic for the ministers at all levels.
We saw at the end of last week, Bill C-202, which is kind of the newer version of 282. We've talked about it a lot on Real Agriculture and Real Ag Radio. Does the Conservative Party have a position on this bill yet?
We have our caucus meeting Wednesday, so I'll be presenting to caucus on that. Certainly some things have changed since 282 was tabled in 2021. We have a very different relationship with the American administration. President Trump has made no qualms that Canadian dairy is a target. I think this is going to be an important issue for the Liberal government to make a decision on where it stands, and is it willing to pick fights with the president right now, with the current situation that we are facing with substantial tariffs and the rhetoric from the president. This is different in that it sounds like the Bloc are going to be asking for unanimous consent to pass all stages in the House of Commons and go right to the Senate. That is not how our system works. But I'll be meeting with caucus tomorrow. We'll be coming up with a position and a decision on where we want to go.
I think the question comes when it comes to trade negotiation. Do we need legislation to protect supply management in those pillars? I think that's really what it all comes down to from a questioning standpoint.
Yeah, and that's where I think this has gone really sideways, Shaun, is that there's that rhetoric out there that if you don't support this bill, you don't support supply management. And I just don't think that's accurate. Our party is very clear in our constitution that we support supply management. The leader was quite adamant during the campaign that a conservative government will support supply management. That doesn't mean that in a trade negotiation you put any industry off the table or any negotiation tool off the table. But again, we'll have that discussion at caucus tomorrow, and we'll see where we come.
Well, John, hey, really appreciate you joining us here. I know we'll have lots of chances to talk in the future. Congratulations on being renamed. Third time, correct? Is Shaun for Agriculture?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's right.
I think it is 3. Well, 3 times the charm. Hey, really appreciate you joining us, and best of luck to you, and we'll chat again soon.
My pleasure. Look forward to it. Thanks, Shaun.